Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Blue Velvet. I always say this: you're either running to God or you're running from God, but you can't do both. And so I'm glad that you guys are all here today, tonight, this evening, whenever you're catching this. This is going to be episode number 4 or 5, I believe. I don't know, but check the description for the right one. But this is going to be February 13th, 2026 when we releasing this episode. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. Drop in the comments where you're from, where you're tuning in from, how you heard about the podcast. What are some aha moments that you had? What are some God moments that you had? What are some self-reflections and self-revelations that you got for tuning in to another episode of Blue Velvet tonight? And so I have an amazing guest with me today. I love bringing on amazing people. I love meeting people, especially women for all walks of life, in different programs, in different events, in different mentorships that I'm a part of. I love to meet new people. And this young woman, this young lady is no different. Shout out to Next Level Speakers Academy under the tutelage of Mr. Jeremy Anderson in partnership with E.T., the hip hop preacher, and Inky Johnson. And so last March, I believe, I went to a mastermind in Georgia. And I heard this lady, we were all sharing our stories. And I heard this lady get on stage and share her story. She had said this is the first time that she had really shared her story publicly. And I was just like, wow, okay. Sometimes you thinking that it may be the first time that we publicly are saying something, but we've been internalizing and processing it for a while. And so when it comes out, it's like other people are enamored, like, wow. And that's how I was with her. And so as I bring her out today, I want y'all to give a big, warm welcome, warm claps, warm hugs to none other than Miss Candice Wilson. Woo! How are you?
Thank you for that wonderful. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate you.
You are very welcome. And Candice, I don't know if I told you that day,
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I am good. I don't know if I told you this, but you look like one of my cousins. Like now that I see, you look like one of my cousins. Yep, her name is Adrian. So Adrian, if you're watching this, Candice looks.
Can I tell you how many times people tell me I look like somebody they know?
Really? Wow, you have that warm, friendly, loving, charismatic face. And I think it's like, oh, you must have looked like somebody I met, but you really do look like my cousin, seriously though.
Well, I hope she's a good person. So.
She really is a good person. She really is a good person. So yeah, she is. So again, thank you so much for saying yes. I don't take that lightly when I invite people to come on anything that I'm doing, whether it's virtual or whether it's in person, because one, it's your time that I can never give back. And two, like if you lend your voice to something, right? It's almost like saying I support what they're doing without saying I support what they're doing. And I don't take that lightly, because one thing I know about influence is that it could be costly, right? It costs a lot for people to trust you. It costs a lot of people to say yes to opportunities, because we know every opportunity is not necessarily a good opportunity. Every opportunity is not necessarily a God opportunity. But I want to personally say thank you for joining us today. Now, I shared how I met you. Now, if you could just share what you want to share, how much you want to share about who Candice is to those who may be on my platform that's listening, for those that come from your platform who may not know all that you do, or even for those who know, just kind of reintroduce or introduce yourself to everybody so we can know who Miss Candice Wilson is. So I've explained, Candice, about how wonderful it was to meet you in Atlanta at our mastermind. And so for those people who are following me who don't know you, if you could please tell us a little bit about who you are, as much or as less as you want to tell us about it. For those who already follow you, who know you or may not know, every aspect about your life, just please tell us who Miss Candice Wilson is, please.
Okay, well, in terms of like occupation, I'm an educator by trade. Have been in that game for about 15 years. I'm so we definitely have that connection going on. But like just as who I am, I'm a survivor. I'm a mom. I'm a poet, and have I come from a big family, and I love to travel. Right now, I'm like, exploring the speaking and authorship part of my life, and it's to tell my story and to help other women go through what I went through, but better. So,
hey, I love that, to go through, but go through better. That is that's such a warrior mentality, but it's also such a servant mentality. It's like, I went through, but if you have to experience this, I want you to experience it much better than what I did. Because sometimes people can go through situations, they come out bitter and they don't come out better.
It's true. Or they never share at all and don't learn to share with people how they can do it better. So that was me for a while. So I'm glad I'm not there anymore.
Wow. So let's get into that really quick. Why did you share for a while?
I think that, like I definitely knew that I met God through my getting to the other side. But I think I had been raised in the church, but I hadn't developed a relationship with God until I went through this fall, but because based on what I had been exposed to with God, I thought that he had saved me so that he had just saved me. I didn't really think of it as for a purpose. Yeah. And I started sharing once I realized that I was encountering people that had gone through things that I had been through, but I know that I didn't look like what I had been through. So they didn't know that. And so, them putting me on pedestals that I'm just like, they shouldn't have. And I wanted them to know that so that they could learn that they could get to the other side too.
I love that. What is the pros and the cons of someone putting you on a pedestal?
The pros, there's a lot of cons. Now, in hindsight, there's a lot of cons. Mm-hmm. But pros, I mean, okay, let me think from before. I liked being seen in a positive light, like I've accomplished a lot. But I've accomplished a lot without people knowing all the things that I've been through. So it was nice. People giving you compliments, people giving you your accolades. I think a lot of people like to feel that. Mm-hmm. I think the cons of it was not feeling worth it because I knew that it wasn't encompassing of all of me, and that they were believing me to be somebody that I was not because they didn't know the other part of me because I kept it hidden because I was scared if they knew, they would not think I was worth it. So, yeah.
That is powerful. So a couple years ago, I know you say you're exploring the speaker and the authorship now. So a couple years ago, probably maybe like 8 years ago, I did this book anthology with a couple women, and it was time for us to release it. All the women were not very excited about sharing their story after they had already wrote it in the anthology. And the Lord gave me something called writer's remorse. Is that people would write their story and share their story, and then they be remorseful for it because they've now exposed a part either about themselves that they had never shared or about their loved ones that impacted them that they never had shared, and they was remorseful for telling their truth. And so it was like, and I can understand because I have been in a situation where it's like, you don't really want to expose the people you love. It could be your parents, it could be your siblings, it could be people in the ministry, it could be people on your job, because you just kind of want to tell your story. But sometimes other people are intrigued and entangled up into that story, and
Yeah.
we wouldn't even have that story if it was not for another person.
Yeah.
So in order for me to be a fully, now you don't have to give names and descriptions, but you can surely tell your story and say, this is what happened to me, and this is the individual or the relationship that I had with this person that did that to me. And so hearing you say, like, you like the fact that people saw you in a good way, which I think we all do, right? We all like people in a good way, but it was like there was other parts that was hidden that people didn't know. And so I didn't feel worthy. And another thing that the Lord has shared with me before was traumatic success.
Yeah.
That people would have, yeah. And I'm thinking a lot of times I was looking outside, but it was like an inward thing for me. Where have you been successful, but traumatized behind this success because you did not feel worthy? You did not feel like, oh my God, I should be getting this. Or you didn't even have, for me, it was a long time. It was like, I didn't even have the right people around me or people around me who would celebrate the successes. And so I celebrated that and I held on to that privately, but you do want those other people, and God will send you those people, I believe, when you. And so when you was talking about it, it made me think about all of that. And so I'm going to yield this over to you for you to be at liberty to share whatever it is that perhaps you went through that now you share to help other people, men and women, get over. Anything that you want to share that has been encouragement for other people, even for you just to be at liberty to say, you know what, now you know this part of me and I'm okay with sharing it publicly. So I'm going to turn that over to you and be at liberty to share as much as you like. When I look at your handle, Candice on Purpose, there's a purpose that you're here, not just here in the earth, but it's the purpose that you own Blue Velvet. And so whatever that purpose is today, tonight, I want you to be at liberty to share that. And so again, I yield that to you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Gosh, I feel like there's so much. I'm going to give you a little bit of the backstory because I think that's kind of important in hearing the truth that I'm going to express about me. So I come from a big family. My parents were like high school sweethearts, all of that stuff. I grew up kind of privileged, like I went to private school, like boarding private school, not for discipline areas, but like reasons, but for academics. And I was successful in that. When I got into the college I wanted to get into, married, the vice president of my, of my senior class. And everything had been working out. I pretty much had a good life. And I had pretty much lived in the shadows of my successes for the first 20 some odd years. So, the spiral started when my father died. I got divorced and I had never really cultivated a way to deal with unsuccessfulness, I guess. And so the way I coped was through substances and behavior that was the opposite, the polar opposite of what I had been doing, following the books, following the rules all my life. And I did it because I was mad at God. I was just like, I did what you told me to do. And this is what happened. Right. And this is in hindsight. But at the time I was just wilding out, and so going through that process, I ended up after my divorce, I met my son's father, and the best way to say it is like, the rebound guy became baby daddy, and I experienced, it's true. And going through, addiction issues and then and abuse, domestic violence. And again, I had never, I had grown up with a father who I was close to. I had 3 brothers and I was like, how did I get here? How did I let myself get here? Why am I still here? After the first time, but I stayed and I found out I was pregnant. And I was estranged from my family because of all of my behaviors and whatnot. And I met God again in a different way than I had known him for the sake of my son. It was like my son reintroduced me to God in some way, drew me wanting to go back to him because I had known him completely different before. And I developed that relationship with him. So I think the shame of definitely the substance abuse that that was because I mean, it was intense. It was intense. It was like a 2-year period, but it was the alter ego of what I had lived so far. And it was crazy that I made it out of that physically unscathed, not mentally and not emotionally, because I was broken, but nobody would have seen me even when I was going through it, that, I was doing the things that I was doing, and very much so. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. So I had my dad, I still have both my parents. Thank the Lord. I know my age though, and my condolences to you for losing your dad. So I still have both my parents. Me and my dad was really close up until about 8th grade. So since 8th grade, me and my dad hasn't been that close. What is it? And I know what it feels like from a woman to have a living father but's absent versus having a dad that was there, very present, but now he's absent because he's not physically here anymore. What type of brokenness or emotion did you had to go through when your dad transitioned and passed away?
Oh my gosh. That was crazy. It was, so I moved closer to my parents when he got sick, and I thought, I don't know why. I guess it was just that I'm going to save him. I'm going to save him. It's going to be fine, and it was not real to me that he was not going to be okay. I could not imagine a life without either of my parents, but I was a daddy's girl, And so like the idea of him not being there was not an option to me. And I was like, God, I'm doing what you told me to do. And my father was the most, devout person I knew, he was. And yes. So for that to be, I felt like, of course you're going to save him. Of course you're going to make it better for him. And so when it actually happened that he was declining in health, like he was in the hospital, everything was okay. And then I left. And then I got a call, it was over the holidays, that he wasn't doing well. And I was like, whatever, he's gonna be fine. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna make him laugh. We're gonna be good. And I got there and I got to say my goodbyes, but I didn't even really realize that was what was happening. And he was gone. So it was like a shock to my system. It was like I wasn't accepting it. And then I was rebelling against the fact that I still knew it was real. And then navigating life without him to go to talk to about things has still to this day, I wish I could talk to him about certain things, and I was 27. I had just turned 27 when he passed away. I'm 44 now, so not having his perspective on things that I know that he would have given me lovingly, but truthfully, and then raising a son, his first grandchild, my son, without him, there's a lot of emotions that are evoked in his absence. And I feel it every moment of my life.
Wow. And to hear you talk about I'm like, I wish I had that with my dad. I have a younger sister who has that, but I don't. And so do you think that played a role in the man you chose after your father passed away?
Oh,
and
yeah.
if so, can you talk a little bit about that?
Of course. So again, I told you, like, my ex-husband was the vice president of our senior class, and not that titles or anything mean anything, but I'm saying going to the polar opposite afterwards, to a man that came from a very different background than me. Again, no judgment. It's just that we were not aligned, and I didn't really even understand the meaning of that word alignment until like the last few years as I started on this journey of healing, but we were not aligned in like our perspectives on the world, what we wanted in the world. And he was abusive. And he introduced me to the substances that took a hold of my life for a really long time. But again, having lost my father and not having that voice of the strongest man that I knew loved me unconditionally, and then getting a divorce from the man that I thought was going to love me forever, that my father had known. He had some questions about him too, but like otherwise he was a good man, but he, not having that voice of reason, I just, again, that unworthiness that came into play. And I feel like, to be honest, I feel like it was something that existed before because I felt like I was always kind of performing, you know, like just doing the right thing. Like everything that I felt, I kept to myself. Grew up in an environment where there wasn't a lot of that. Me and my siblings were the diversity there, you know? So yeah, I think definitely not having him to go to and talk to, and choosing men that I felt I deserved at that point.
Yeah.
You know? I hope that answers your question.
That does. That does. Wow. Wow. And I think as we get older, and we're the same age, shout out to me at 44. Are you born at 80 or 81?
It's the best decade so far for me. I'm going to say.
Yeah. Are you 81 or 80, baby?
81.
I'm
81, December 81.
When
are you? December 13th, 1981.
September 29th, 1981.
Okay.
Hey, okay. Shout out to yeah, shout out to all the 81 babies that's go watch this live tonight and years to come. God bless all y'all. It was definitely a great decade. Are you now? I love the Lord. I heard T.I.'s new song like on Instagram. People had that on Instagram and like TikTok. Have you heard his new single? T.I.
About
T.I.'s new single. Okay.
No, what is it? Okay.
I know he just released a new single. It's
okay.
It's not for the church. So, but I was like, that reminded me of when I was in my 20s bumping T.I. But
yeah.
So I think as we get older and as you grow and as you mature, and again, I think it does matter the communities that you're in, your desire to grow plays a part in all of that. I think as we learn that there were things that were in place earlier that just kind of manifested when something major happened to our lives, that's when it really like showed up. But it could have been something that was already there from a young age, and we don't necessarily know that until it comes out in a way you're like, wow, I never thought I would ever do that, right? So I think I would say for me, and my mama watches my podcast, she watches all this stuff, right? So she's literally like, oh my gosh, she done learned a lot of stuff about me from like the stuff I've been doing with speaking, but mama, I'm sorry. So like one of my aunts, God bless her soul, I love her, God rest her soul, but my aunt was like, she was to the thought, if you're gonna go out and do whatever, I'd rather you do it in the presence of a supervised adult. And this doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right. But early on, I smoked weed when I was in my teens. I was drinking when I was in my teens. And so I got that stuff early on. My aunt, yeah, I know. Mom's like, oh my gosh. Early on with her sister. Right? And so by the time I got like early 20s, I was doing it and I had been doing it, but it had started when I was a young, when I was like 13, 14, 15. And I learned that if I had an issue, if I had a problem, that I would use substance as a way to kind of like just deal with my stuff. And because I think it was only God he knew, because once I got into college, we had this like, it was just me and another girl. We had I don't even know it was a party, but me and her got so drunk. From that night, I could not. Well, no, from that night, it was like it was certain types of drinks I wouldn't drink. And then by the time I got probably a couple weeks or something after that, but I couldn't drink anymore. It literally, my stomach hurt. So I felt like God stopped me in my early years because he realized if I kept allowing her to do this, this will be a destruction of hers. Smoking, and I smoked cigarettes and Black & Milds and weed. And then it was like one day I just got sick. Like the smoke literally makes me sick. And so it's been like 20 years since I've been able to do any of that because God literally I feel like he put something that causes me to say, you can't use this. And so what do you do if you don't get healed? You go find something else to sedate your pain. And so while I couldn't use substance and I couldn't use alcohol and drugs and smoking, it was just like, let me go find something else. So I know you said that your partner introduced you to substance. Do you think
Mhm.
the reason why he was using it, or I assume he was using it, he may not have been using, but the fact that he introduced you to it, do you think that he knew about that because maybe that was a way that he learned how to cope with whatever he had going on?
It was. He came from a very difficult background, and I had a lot of anger and stuff around, what I experienced with him. But it's when I got my healing, I realized that he didn't necessarily have the resources to seek it out for himself. Like he had a lot. And even in conversation with my son, because he's not in his life, because he's still struggling with that. And, I have family and friends that, want to dog him out and say all that stuff. And I'm just like, realistically, like I had resources to help and I'm not talking about financial resources. I'm talking about like the wherewithal to make decisions for myself in a different way because I had something to look back to, which he did not, and even coming out of it, I had supportive relationships, which we had to regain. We had to rework those relationships because there was a lot of anger and resentment on my part and on their part because of things that took place. But it's not anger that I feel for him that took me a while to get to because of that.
Wow. So when you was first introduced to like the substance, can you hear me? So when you were introduced to, the substance or whatever he introduced you to, right? What was your initial thought to be like, should I do it? Or did you do it because I was in a relationship and it was kind of like, this is something that we do, or it's just something you wanted to do?
I was in so much pain. And I just wanted to escape the pain because, as I said, like I didn't know how to deal with things not going my way. I didn't know how to deal with the level of pain and lack of control over the situation. Like I could not bring my father back. My heart had been broken by this man that I had been with, that I had trusted for a really long time. And like I see how God works everything out because we weren't meant for each other anyway. And it was kind of like we were in college together. It was like, this is what we do next, but I wanted to escape my reality. And I felt like I escaped in those moments. And I see how it made it worse after the moments were gone, and I recognized it every single time. But when I would go back to remembering my reality, I was like, I need another one of those escapes. Yeah. I need to get away from it. I can't handle it.
That is so real and so honest, Candice. Like, and I know I've been like that where it's like, you know what, I'm just go do whatever for the time being because right now it's too overwhelming. I don't want to deal with it. It's gonna still be here. So in this moment, let me just feel good. In this moment, let me just do something to, be it at peace or mellow or whatever you want to call it at the time, and then I'll get back and deal with that later. And so for those who may be listening right now and they're in that space where it's like, I'm hurting, I'm broken, I'm frustrated, I can't control or change this situation. And I know that what I'm doing is not right and it's not going to really help me, but I'm still in this situation. What could you say, or what would you like just share with them? Like, what would you have wished or hope, or perhaps something that could have been said to you that made you say, you know what, I'm not going to do this?
Ooh, I don't know if anybody could have said anything to me at the time because I was just angry. I was mad. I wanted to hurt everything. And I guess I don't think I was trying to hurt myself, but I was mad at myself too. I was just mad. And I felt like me doing this stuff was going to hurt the people that were making me mad. Yeah. I know that. Okay. I mean, honestly, like I can't talk about my journey to healing without God. So is it okay that I, okay.
Hey, listen, this is God infused through and through. Jesus infused through and through.
Okay. So, it's crazy that, the substances that I was on, like what I was, like heavily into, most people don't come back from that, you know? And God stopped me in my tracks. I didn't go to rehab. I didn't it was done. It was over. I was like, if you are real, and I was angry. I was yelling. I was screaming. If you are real, how did you let me go from this to this? How did you let me? Not like I made my own choices.
Right.
Not like you didn't try to stop me, you know, but how did you let me? If you are real, stop this. Tell me what I need to do, you know? And I had my baby, you know, like I had my baby and I was like, I didn't want to keep doing this. I didn't want it for him, but I didn't know how to stop, you know? And it's crazy. And for anybody that is dealing with that, if you need to go to therapy, you need to go to rehab. This is not a story saying don't do that. But for me, that is not what I needed. And it was the actual encounter with God, having that relationship with him, not seeing him as just like this outside being that had nothing to do with me other than when I went to church on Sundays. I felt him. I heard him. And he changed me. And when I tell some people, you know, they can't receive that, but I was there. I know what happened. So people tried to talk to me. I wasn't listening to them, you know? And I had a baby who I loved and I wanted to stop my foolishness. I would stop and go back and stop and go back. And when he was 4.5 months old, that's when I stopped, like completely everything, you know, because of that encounter. And so
I love stories like this because it puts, God doesn't need our help to promote him or do anything, but the fact that he will use us in our story to say, this is how powerful our God is. I don't care what you're doing and what you in. When I come up on the scene, I'm going to deliver and I'm going to set free. And that's what I hear in your story. It's like, he said, girl, listen, you ain't listening to nobody else. You upset, you mad, you angry. I'm going to come down here and do this work. And I know that he always doing work, but I'm going to come down here and do this work. So you will know it was nobody but me who pulled you out of this. Ain't that so good?
it is so good. It is so good. If somebody had told me this before I experienced it, I'd have been like, okay, had to be a little bit more than that, you know, even having grown up in the church and stuff. But once you have that encounter, as you say, like you can say what you want to, but I was there.
Yeah.
I know what happened. So
I was there because I love how you said they didn't know what you went through, because you look at yourself, you're very well put together, you're very poised in your conversation and you're talking. What is something that you would recommend to somebody who is, and it's not just women, because you know, I know with women, you know, we can do the makeup and all the things that really look good, the fashion, I mean, all the things, right? And even men, they may not do the makeup, but you know, fashion and, you know, their demeanor and their all of that. What can you say to somebody who presents a well put together version of themselves, but they are broken, they are struggling, they are hiding, they may be shameful? What would you say to them, or what can you encourage them to do or try so they don't have to be one way here, but then secretly they are falling apart? And you can ask them part of it, all of it, some of it, however God gives it to you.
Okay. Can you ask the question again so I can make sure that I'm answering?
Yes. So somebody that's watching us right now has it all put together when we see them. Behind the scenes, outside of work, outside of ministry, outside of a camera, they are falling apart and things are not what it looks like. What can you say to them to help them know, one, it doesn't have to be like that, and then two, how can they navigate that and deal with what's internally destroying them so they can show up externally whole?
Okay. God can't heal what you pretend doesn't hurt.
Whew.
He can't. If you're not acknowledging that you feel pain in a certain way, it's like taking medication and just throwing, you know, medications into your mouth, hoping that something's going to get cured, you know? So I think that's what I would say. That's what I would have said to myself. Yeah. You know, it's been a really long time, like searching through, it's like wearing a winter coat in the summer, right? And you know, there's some days that it gets cold. You might need to wear a winter coat, but then you just keep it on and you realize, like, not only do I not need it anymore, it's uncomfortable, you know, and allow yourself to feel that, like, feel that pain, feel that hurt. And then you can start working towards not hurting anymore, not feeling it like that anymore, but you have to name it.
Wow, I love that. And the way you share, because the whole premise behind Blue Velvet is having hard truths and soft conversations. And just your presence and the way you talking, it's like it is very soft, but it's a real thing that we deal with. And so, what is one hard truth that you had to look in the mirror and realize about yourself when you was going through that to say, now that I'm on the other side of that, this was part of the reason why I did what I did?
I think honestly, with everything, as I was saying, it happened before all of this, that there was a level of limited self-worth. You know, my self-worth was based on other people's opinions of me, you know, and there's different types of ways in which that can happen. I definitely feel like growing up, as I said, in an environment where me and my siblings were the only diversity in the environment. And always feeling like you had to prove yourself for everything you did, even with people that are supposed to be close to you, you know? And I think telling myself that being strong, you know, like you can be strong and still be soft at the same time. And setting boundaries. I think for myself, I needed to set boundaries. I'm doing that now, and I didn't. Okay. You know, for friends, men that I've dated, just kind of sweeping things under the carpet for a really long time that bothered me, but I didn't feel worthy enough to speak on it. You know, I felt like I needed other people's validation for how I felt, and I don't feel like that anymore.
Oh, that's good. And that is real, needing other people's validation based on how you feel. And I'm so glad you are not there anymore. For so somebody who was going through that, because I have felt that way many times. How were you able to get over there and say, it doesn't matter what other people say, but I know who God has made, Candice? How did you get to that?
You know, like on this healing journey, like therapy, I've helped friends like get into therapy, but like with my family, they were like, we don't do that. It's a cultural thing. We don't do that. What are you talking about? Tell people your business, you know? And I'm like, you know, you can't just be accountable to yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel that therapy was definitely a big part of it for me, being able to check in with somebody else about what I thought, what I felt, you know, because it's kind of like tunnel vision when you're in your feelings and your emotions and stuff. Yeah. So I definitely think that that was helpful for me. And I remember one of the things that my therapist said to me was check in with how you feel in your body. And I keep that to this day, you know, check in with how you feel in your body. And I started doing that and realizing that I was feeling things that I couldn't name, and it wasn't good. Yeah. And it was coming from the interactions I was having with people that I was so-called close to, that so-called loved me and I loved them. But once I started recognizing that I was having those feelings and I spoke up on it, I realized that their love didn't mirror the kind of love that I wanted or deserved.
Come on.
And so recognizing that and acting on that and not villainizing them, but being like, we're not aligned because you have a feeling that you feel like I should be a certain way that I don't feel comfortable being. And so I'm not going to just sit in that just because it makes you happy, because it does not make me happy. It does not make me feel like I am being the me that I was created to be. And I need to be her in order to do what he has called me to do. So
that is so good. It's so many things that you said, Candice. Listen, my platform is always open to you to come back to have a part 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. So Good. It's so many things that you just said, and in this moment, it's like, man, um, I know that looking on the outside in, hearing your stories, being in education now,
Mhm.
working at a very elite high school, and
Mhm.
I deal with testing, and
Mhm.
I deal with the test anxiety and the pressure to perform and the pressure to get the highest scores and the pressure to take all of these AP courses and the pressure to have the highest GPA from 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 year olds. And so I know that there is, and I don't know what your market is, but there will be so many young people who could resonate with what you're saying about, feeling like you have to do everything right, even at a young age, proving yourself. Like, and I tell them, like, you're still a child. It's okay to want to get good grades. Listen, I'm not knocking you for doing that. But my God, your whole childhood and shouldn't be, let me be in these books and study, study, study. And
Yeah.
it's just overwhelming. And so whatever area that God has called you, I pray that doors open up wide for you, because people need not just the women that's in our age, the 80s, the 90s, but
81?
yeah, the 81 ladies. Listen, and I'm
Yeah.
still at 44. I still got so much to learn, but I've learned so much. And so, even for the ladies that's watching us now, who may be in our era, who grew up the same time we did, and something you said, like, your parents like therapy. I don't know anybody in my family who talks openly about going to therapy, so I don't know if they do. I
Mhm.
know, I told Mama she need to go show me start Jesus. So I said, well, okay.
Exactly. My
But
Bible.
you
I
can
got
talk.
my word right here. That's the.
Yeah, and it's like that's good, but sometimes it's good to have like just talk to
Mhm.
another person. And I always say therapists, they get paid to listen and they get paid to
Mhm.
not tell you business. So
Mhm.
that on the strength is like I ain't gonna hear it again, but they really do give helpful tips and
Mhm.
just to be able to articulate some things and not carry it and not internalize and not let it weigh you down. See, I don't know if you read the book. I have a book called The Body Keeps a Score, and it talks about
Mhm.
those traumas and things happen that it's almost like time sensitive and it will come out later on in life and you're thinking, where did this come from? But your body remembered the pain and it comes up in
Yeah.
areas and ways later. And so whatever you're called to, I just pray that God will continue to open doors. Again, thank you so much for sharing just a bit of your story. I know there's many, many things that you could have said, but to close us out, if there is anything that you could say to anybody that's listening, even to your young
Mhm.
self, because there are a lot of young people who are going to watch this. Like I told you, where I work at in this area, there's a lot of young people that struggle. I'm not of the thought that because a child has IEP or 504 that
Yeah.
they're wrong with them, they can't learn. That's not the truth. But what
Yeah.
I do know is that a lot of students have these services not because it's always academically. It's a lot of emotional and mental things that go on
So
that
true.
cause for them to have these plans in place. So when there's a test, when there's classroom instruction, they need supports to even get through what they're going through in their own minds. And so for somebody who may be there or just another woman or man that's listening, what's something closing that you can say to all of us that we can take and resonate and say, Candice, thank you for being on purpose. Thank you for being in purpose. And thank you for sharing with us this truth.
Life is a process. Like healing doesn't require you to rip the band-aid or the mask off overnight. It just loosen your grip up on it a little bit at a time, and allow yourself to be seen in small ways without collapsing or apologizing. That takes a lot. So that's what I would say. And you'll see how that'll manifest over time, like little by little, like allow yourself to accept yourself as you are first, and then to be seen as you are and progress towards who you want to be by being true to yourself, though.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am giving you a round. Wow. Boss, thank
But I
you.
need that in my life.
Yeah. One more time. Thank you so much. Thank you for showing up authentically yourself. Again, thank you for your yes. You are welcome to my platform anytime. Keep showing up, keep serving, keep speaking, keep telling your truth, because there are people who will be blessed by it. I know for me personally that I was blessed even by what you said, even like with the whole daddy thing, that like, you started me get a little teary, like, ooh, I wish I had that. And sometimes I think we don't, what one person had that may not have turned out well, other people like, I wish I would have had a part of that. You know what I'm saying? And so thank you so much for sharing your story today. I appreciate you so much. Share with the people how they can connect with you, how they can follow you online, if they want to bring you in as a guest, bring you in as a speaker, to mentor their young girls. Tell us all about how we can stay connected to Candice on purpose.
Thank you. So I'm just like navigating the social media thing, but Candice on Purpose is where I'm at right now, on Instagram and Facebook. And I have some projects that I'm working hard on right now. The release of a book at the end of spring, early summer, that will have different things that come off of that are related to my purpose and what I just spoke to you about, this whole journey to healing, and not having to, as we said, these hard conversations softly. You don't have to scream it to be true to it and to be taken seriously, as long as you take yourself seriously. So yeah, the projects that are around the book, Worth from Wreckage is the name of it. And if you end up following me, you'll be seeing as that slowly rolls out and the things that are attached to it, like summertime, early summer, late spring.
Oh, I love that. So Candice, whenever you start doing pre-sales, send me a link, because I definitely want to get on the pre-sales early on. First, drop it early on. If you want to ever come back to talk about your book, whenever you have a book release, the information. Even if I can't make it, I have some aunts in Georgia. I have a friend in Georgia. I have a couple people in Georgia. And so if I couldn't personally come when you release it, I would definitely share it out to the people.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome so much. So thank you again for being my special guest on another episode of Blue Velvet, where we have hard conversations with soft truths. And so for all of you who are watching us, thank you so much for tuning in. Drop in your comments, drop in something that Candice said that was like mind-blowing, drop in something that even resonated with your heart, to say, hey, I have to check myself and look in the mirror and say, what are some things that I can do to better improve my tomorrow? Because even though we may not think that we're hurting ourselves in the immediate, sometimes when we look at it down the road, it's like, man, I really messed up on this. And so I just pray that all of you guys are blessed. I pray that all of you have received this well. Share this out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let people know that Blue Velvet was on. Let them know that Candice on Purpose is active on Instagram and Facebook, and that you need to go follow her. And so, guys, until the next time, we'll see you on another episode of Blue Velvet. Peace.
Bye.